Welcome to the presentation of today. We will start with how we will sell DDoS to the enterprise. So, if you don't know me, I'm Eduardo Ramirez. I am part of the Presales global team. And, well, today I want to give you an overview. They told me, Eduardo, could you please tell us how we will sell DDoS to the enterprise? So, well, sometimes, well, we make some mistakes and some assumptions. So it's a different subject, actually, to talk about. So I will try to give you a quick introduction about what is DDoS. Maybe you know, maybe don't, but we want to be in the same page. Then, few words about the Allot DDoS protection, how we should position DDoS secure on the enterprise, and, well, if the time allows us, I will give you some success stories. I want you to remember today, when I was going to do the presentation, well, there is always the, let's say, the mistake to think that, okay, we are going to position Allot as a pure DDoS player, and we are going to lead with the security. But actually, from experience and normally how we should handle the DDoS on the enterprise is, first of all, well, I stole this slide from my next presentation, but it's good that it was my presentation, so I'm allowed to steal this slide, because I want you to remember that before you are talking about security, yeah, with the enterprise, we should always lead with the visibility and control. And then we can upsell security features, okay? We should avoid targeting deals or addressing the customers just being a pure security player, because that will create confusion. They will open the questions about what are your security credentials and so on. So we always start leading with the visibility and control, then we will upsell the security features, and the most important part is showing how, with a simple license activation, we can have the functionality, okay? So this is just a quick background, and when we discuss about DDoS security, how we should position Allot, okay? So starting from, well, quick recap. So what does DDoS secure do? And this is specific in one of the specific security domains from Allot is to make the network secure. Okay, so the idea is to protect the network and, of course, the data center resources against DDoS or distributed denial of service attacks. Okay, so do you know what is DDoS? Yeah, everybody's talking about that. So today, during the presentation, I will just refer to some traffic analogies. So if you think about highway, that there is clogged with a traffic jam that I depicted with malicious cars, then what is the DDoS on this scenario? Is that legitimate or, well, normal users are preventing to reach their destination. So, well, this is in a nutshell what DDoS means. Okay, so what are the common types of DDoS attacks? So here I'm just showing you, well, the OSI layer. And, well, the OSI layer is just a framework that shows the network connectivity between layers, okay? So the typical, well, and as I mentioned before, normally these denial of service attacks will target a device or will target specific resources, network resources. So the typical DDoS attack is what we call application layer attacks. So application layer attacks, typically, they will be disguised or will be legitimate traffic, targeting legitimate resources. But when you have a lot of legitimate requests, then you can prevent the servers or these resources to deliver a service. So what does it mean? It means that, for instance, when you open a browser and you open a normal web page, HTTP, well, for the client, it's a light request, and well, you will not consume any resources. You just connect to a specific website. But for the website, in order to display the page, well, it will, in the background, connect to a database, do some queries, and then connect or do some integration with other services, and then it will display the page. So what does it mean? It means that if several clients, they do a legitimate request and open a web browser, then, well, at some point, if you have thousands or millions of users doing the same, then the server, well, will exhaust the resources and will not be able to deliver the service. So this is what we call application layer attack. Then we have another type of DDoS attacks that are the protocol attacks. So protocol attacks, normally they target the connection state, the protocol state. So, well, it's a state machine, and what it does is just to be able to, well, this type of attacks will use the protocol state and fill the state table. So normally, this kind of attacks will impact, for instance, the firewalls or the load balancers, because they keep the state of the connections. So if you open several connections, then the firewall state table will be full, and then they will not be able to provide a service, okay? And then we have volumetric attacks. And, well, these ones are from the OSI layer as well, in the layer 3, layer 4. And normally volumetric attacks, what they do is to try to consume all the bandwidth, okay? Now, the important question, and I always get this from my partners, distributors, and sometimes customers, is, hey, where that Allot belong to these different type of DDoS attacks? So just remember, Allot is positioned, and it will help you protect from protocol attacks and volumetric attacks, okay? For now, we are not going to do the full protection and go into the application layer attacks because, well, it's not part of our core business, okay? And, well, I will give you in my next presentation more details about that specific point, okay? So, now that you know what are the DDoS attacks, the different type of attacks, now, well, how does Allot DDoS secure mitigation works? So just remember that when we deploy our solution, we can deploy different sensors or inline platforms. We can deploy them in the internet site, data center, or the WAN. And they will send actually all this information, all the traffic information to a centralized controller. So what does it mean? This is very important, is that, well, even though you have a lot of traffic or a little traffic, actually the sensors will send always the same information to the controller to create the statistics and to build a behavioral analysis. And, well, we can scale. And how we can scale? Well, adding just more sensors. It's very easy. So how does it work? These sensors, when they see the traffic, they send these complex models to the controller. The controller will start learning with the artificial intelligence mechanism we have. It will learn the traffic patterns, okay? Then, after learning the traffic patterns, it will detect the attack. So it will do a packet capture of the traffic. It will analyze the traffic. It will create on the fly a pattern or a layer server signature. And with this pattern, actually, you can activate the policy. So those are the typical steps, what happens with the DDoS secure solution. So now that the policy is active, so the service, the DDoS secure controller actually will send this pattern and this policy to the different sensors, and then the sensors in real time will mitigate the attacks. So, well, just to give you a quick overview, and this is important, why I put these traffic models, is to remember that Allot solution is not based on thresholds. So what does it mean? As I showed you before, is that the system with the artificial intelligence mechanism will learn the traffic patterns. It will analyze the traffic, and it will create an advanced and complex model where it can predict how, well, the users behave, and it will predict in the future what is normal traffic and what is not normal traffic. But if there is an anomaly that we call, if the engine will detect that there is something weird on the network based on the behavior and compare with the complex models that it has built, then the system will create an anomaly and then do the packet capture, and then you can mitigate this in real time. So here is just a quick example that shows how TCP works. So if some of you know how TCP works, so this is just a simple protocol. At the beginning, it will do a handshake when the connection is established. So how it does the handshake to say, hey, I want to talk to you? Well, it sends 3 types of packets: a SYN, then a SYN ACK, and then an ACT. But the very first packet is called SYN, okay? And then at the end, when the session or the connection closes, TCP sends a packet or a message to say, hey, I'm finished. That is called the FIN, okay? So normally, since it's a very gentleman communication and connection, it will always, the TCP will always send a hello and then a bye. So normally the ratio, that's just a quick example, the ratio between the highs and byes should be 1, because that is how TCP works. But if there is, for instance, a SYN flood, so the system suddenly gets a lot of messages saying hi, and it doesn't see any byes and finished, then the system will highlight and create an alert and say, hey, there is an anomaly. And then, well, we can investigate, create the signatures, and based on other parameters, well, we can mitigate the attack on real time. So now that we know how the solution works, actually, and this is, I guess, the key point of positioning Allot and positioning the DDoS secure solution, is to take, to stress to our customers about quality of experience, okay? So the most important part, and this is what we have to remind our customers, is how you can maintain the quality of experience even if you are on a constant attack, okay? And the key here, actually, is, I want you to remember this, is, of course, is to distinguish what is legitimate traffic. And once we know what is legitimate, we will give this traffic their own resources, and then it will have its own ability to deliver the quality that they expect. So if we put a day-to-day analogy, what does it mean? It means that, well, let's say, imagine that you go to your building. So I'm going to Allot's building every day, and then you see people walking in the building every day. So well, those are legitimate users. But there are some other users entering the building that are abnormal because they don't go to the office every day. But despite of that, the behavior is abnormal, they are still legitimate users. And then we have the illegitimate or the attackers that can go into the building. So what is the most important part? Is to have the ability to say, okay, I will give and I will allocate the resources to handle the real traffic and have other resources to do the mitigation, the filtering, and the blocking of the attacks. So this is the key of how we can maintain the quality of experience even if we are under attack. And this is what you need to remember, and that's one of the key things that we can have with Allot solution. So once you go to the customers, and especially on the enterprise side, you will always hear, but when the attack reaches my network, it's too late. So if we keep the traffic analogy, what does it mean? It means, well, they're saying, hey, Mr. Allot, so here we can see DDoS secure. Well, you are positioning too late, because what happens is that when the attack arrives to my pipe, to the internet, then, well, what can you do? Now it's too late. Well, even if you mitigate the attack, I still have problems with my service. But what we need to remind our customers is that actually, because of the nature of the solution that we have, so the C control the visibility and control, so we have the traffic management. So with the traffic management, actually, what you need to remember is that if we still have the same highway and it's clogged with a traffic jam, with malicious traffic, well, Allot is able to open a special lane and let the priority traffic go in. So, important key and how we should address this with our customers is that they have to realize one thing, is that not if they are going to be attacked, but when they are going to be attacked. So what does it mean? It means that, okay, me, well, as Allot, when I deploy my solution, I cannot say, okay, tomorrow at 3 p.m. you are going to have an attack, so well, everybody's prepared and we will block it. No, we don't know. The attacks can come, maybe yes, no, in 1 month, we don't know, okay? So the most important part, when you do or the companies or the customers are doing the blueprint of security, they have to realize or they have to create a strategy in order to prevent when they are going to be attacked. So what is the impact and how Allot can help there is, okay, let's imagine that the customer deploys a typical DDoS, standalone DDoS security solution. What happens is that, okay, they are under attack. So normally, well, the normal DDoS secure solutions will have a time to, of course, all of the solutions out there will do the same. So they analyze the traffic, then they will detect the attack, and then they will do the mitigation. But if you cannot predict when the attack is coming, the time it takes for a typical solution to do the detection and mitigation, then during that specific period of time, that could be 30 seconds, 1 minute, 2 minutes, or up to 5 minutes, then, well, the firewall will suffer, and then they will be, well, without service at the beginning of the attack. So what we can do with Allot is to prevent, well, is to create a prevention policy that is enabled all times. So what it does is to say, okay, I will protect my critical traffic, so networking traffic, routing traffic, DNS, for instance, all the time, meaning that since I cannot predict when the attack is coming, then, well, when it happens, I know that my resources are protected, the network important resources are protected, and then, of course, the system will do the detection and the mitigation. Okay, so the most important part is that we are going to protect all the time the important network resources like the firewall. So just remember, where we are talking about Allot, and there is always the discussion that you are too late, so just express that we can have service continuity with Allot. So how we do that? First of all, as I mentioned, we will have capacity protection, so maintain the resources for good traffic all the time, and then, well, we will do the detection and the mitigation. But with that, what we can guarantee is to maintain the quality of experience. So as I mentioned before, we will have dedicated resources for the good traffic, and then we can maintain service availability during the attack. So I asked my marketing department in order to summarize what I just said. So I hope we can wrap up in a quick summary, but I still have time, with a quick video.
DDoS attacks are not just a security issue. They are a full frontal attack on your customer satisfaction, your reputation, and therefore your business. And worst of all, they are increasing by the year in scale, frequency, and sophistication. Allot DDoS protection, powered by Allot's network behavior anomaly detection technology, it distinguishes between malicious flooding and legitimate traffic spikes to allow precise mitigation of attacks without overblocking innocent users. It also pinpoints the source of the anomalous behavior to allow rapid isolation of infected endpoints and IoT devices. Even during the largest DDoS attacks, Allot limits traffic by using synergetic DPI-based traffic shaping so that firewalls and routers are not overwhelmed. And with its actionable analytics, you can gain accurate intelligence about attackers to automate mitigation measures and thus assure service continuity. Allot DDoS protection, more than just security.
Well, it seems that summarizes what I just said. So if you want to show that to your customers as well, if you don't remember what I said, short video will help open the doors. But, okay, what other things the customers are saying? Oh, I already have this with my ISP. So, well, now that we move to the, okay, you are positioning too late, then there is always the argument, but yeah, I am an enterprise, I have my ISP, well, I already have this. So, I don't maybe need Allot. So, very important is that really, well, you need to ask that question to the customers because, well, sometimes the ISP says, okay, you are going to be protected, but there is actually, well, this is what they sign when they have the, well, they pay the monthly fee, but no, behind that, there is not a strict SLA that they are actually going to be protected. So why we should get into those details is because sometimes, well, ISPs, well, they have their business, okay? They have maybe a DDoS security protection, well, maybe from Allot or other vendors, but at the end of the day, if they are suffering an attack, what happens is that when the company is the target of the attack, and this is a, let's say, volumetric attack, they may affect other customers. So sometimes ISPs prefer to say, okay, sorry, you are affecting my other customers, I'm going to shut you down. So, well, they are actually not giving the service. But let's imagine that you sell and you sign a specific SLA, or the customer signs a specific SLA, and then they are getting the service. So still, ISPs, they are focusing on big attacks. So important to remember is, well, that you need to ask the customers is, what about small attacks? Okay, normally these ISPs, well, other technologies, they will do sampling and they will not inspect all the packets. So there are some attacks that can fly and can deny the service. So here is a typical example from one of our customers that it got a small attack. Let's say, well, normally they have a pipe of internet that is 100 meg, and suddenly they got 5 megabits per second. Well, the important part is the packets per second, so almost 2 million packets per second. And then this very small attack affect their service. And the ISPs are not actually focusing on that. So we need to have an extra layer of defense. Second thing is, of course, that you have heard this as well. But Mr. Allot, since you are positioning too late, maybe, well, do you have a scrubbing center? Okay? That's a typical argument that I hear all the time. But, well, just remember that we are an inline solution. And also, important to highlight to the customers is that from all the study on all the customers we have deployed our solution, actually all over the world, what we have seen lately is that, well, there are volumetric attacks well, that you can hear in the news, but in reality, that represents, let's say, fairly 3 to 5% of the attacks. Actually, the big majority is what we called the hit and run attacks. So what does it mean? It means that it's a huge attack, or medium to large attack, that lasts for a couple of minutes. So what does it mean? It means that if you have well, an attack that is well, 2 or 3 minutes, normally if you have a scrubbing center, what happens is that, well, the system, well, normally the enterprises will suffer or will get an alert, or the service is down. If they have some monitoring tools, then they call the ISP, then the ISP will redirect the traffic to a scrubbing center, then the traffic will be cleaned, then the traffic will come back, and then, well, it can pass 5, 7 minutes. So if the attack lasts lasted only 2 minutes, then, well, because of doing this cycle, well, they auto-deny the service for 5 minutes. So it's important to understand that for this kind of hit-and-run attacks, well, Allot will give an extra layer of security. And what is important to highlight as well is that how the solution works. So with our technology, and I hope you have tested it. If not, well, I invite you to test it. How it does is, well, it will detect that from the time of detection and mitigation, so this is what we call TTM, it passed typically between 10 to 15 seconds. So what does it mean? It means that once the attack is detected and mitigated, from that time it passes 10 seconds. So after 10 seconds, they will be protected. Okay? And well, even if the attack lasts for 1 or 2 minutes, they are actually protected after 10 seconds. So it's important that you remember what is the complete picture as well. Everybody is focusing on, well, you are positioning too late and so on, but they're always seeing the inbound attacks, the incoming traffic. But customers, sometimes partners, they are forgetting that, well, the highway has 2 ways, coming in and coming out. So everybody's forgetting about what is going out. So with our technology, actually, we are able also to identify and detect attacks that are going out of the network, okay? So why this is important? Well, maybe it's not huge traffic, but it can hurt the brand. So it's the customer, it's a little bit picky on the brand reputation. Well, what if they have connected devices that get infected and they are part of a large-scale attack? So with our solution, we actually will have the complete picture and we can see both directions. So it is important. And well, just to finish, last but not least, well, 2 things. First of all, well, we upgraded it and have a new version of our solution where we deploy a new dashboard. And why I'm showing this? Well, if you have experience with Allot DDoS Secure, is that because before we didn't have a very user-friendly interface, and for enterprises, actually, that matters, because what we have seen is that, well, the other competitors that are showing the same technology, well, they come with very easy to deploy and summarize reports. And when you are selling to the enterprise, at the end of the day, even if you have the best technology, if you cannot show a nice report to the management, maybe they will not show or they will not choose the solution. So actually, we are working on that, and actually, we are improving our DDoS Secure, and most important, that will be focused for the enterprise. And last few words, just remember, for all the customer base that you have, the deployment doesn't require any scheduled outage. So what does it mean? It means that if Allot is already there, just enable a simple license, and then you have the full solution. Okay, thank you very much.